What's going on, guys? It's the Nightwing at Way of Life Esports coming at you guys with another League of Legends video here today. This is the C9FanCast Season 1, Episode 15. There's a lot to talk about. C9's in the headlines as usual. We're going to shit on TSM as usual. And we're going to preview the Worlds 2020 Semifinals and also go over the quarterfinals that just took place. But let's go over the news first. But before we get into that, how are you guys doing this week? You guys doing okay? Mental's okay? Physically okay? Work's
Yeah.
Good?
You know, I do landscaping. It's been raining like a motherfucker for the past 2 days, so I actually had 2 days off, so.
Oh, God. So we got the new guy here, Yigi? Is that the name? Stiggy.
Yeah.
Okay. How are you, man? How did you get into the LCS, watching it, League, you know, your whole little story?
I picked up League when I was 15 in Season 1.
I feel bad.
I've
No,
just been
it
following
ruined you. It ruined you, man.
It did.
ruined-
It did. It killed me. I have RSI in both my hands now, so.
Oh, my God. Damn, holy shit.
Dude, just got real on
Yeah,
like
God.
level.
Holy shit.
It's not as bad as fucking my support Soraka today running Smite Conqueror. I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. She said she didn't know.
They're trying to break the meta.
My dude didn't use his ultimate the whole time. I was like, get the heck. Stop playing League. Just quit. Actually, just quit. Don't come into my games anymore. But let's start it off with Licorice. Actually, Licorice was in the headlines, as you guys know, because Licorice is not on Cloud9 anymore. Licorice had been starting for Cloud9 since spring 2018. Pretty much the best top laner in North America. By consensus, it's usually just him and Someday that are like the best top laners. Impact's always usually in there. Broken Blade's in there. But what did you guys initially think about Licorice not being on Cloud9 when the news came out?
Cloud9, their coaching staff has clearly seen something in Fudge that we don't know about. Because that's the only way this makes sense.
Oof, man. Dude, like, initially, when I heard the news, I was like, wait a minute, you are making another team so strong. Imagine if FlyQuest or Team Liquid grab him. They're going to be so much stronger.
Especially FlyQuest, because that's the piece they need. Like, really bad. Like, they need someone besides Solo in the top lane. They have Licorice up there. All of a sudden, their biggest weakness becomes one of their biggest strengths.
See, my thing in the meeting would be like, imagine what's her name, Trisha and Steve doing a meeting. All right, so let's have the Licorice debate. Especially Steve saying this: you guys don't win titles. You're not going to use them effectively anyway. You guys are always losing anyway. We got 4 titles. You have 0. Come on, he's better over here. She's like, you know, you're right, but we can showcase greatness out of him. What are you talking about? Just here's the check, Jack. Please give me Licorice, because I think that Licorice going to TL is the better fit for him. I don't think FlyQuest would be for him because Power V will usually leave teams after a year. I don't think Wild Turtle and Ignar would personally play well with Licorice in terms of what Licorice usually does. Because I think the point about FlyQuest this year, their whole narrative was scaling mid, Ignar roams, Santorin plays for mid lane. Because usually in C9, earlier past this year, Blabber was actually ganking for Licorice a lot. He ganked for him quite a bit. Blabber was pretty much giving resources to everybody. I just personally think that he'll fit better with Team Liquid. If he wants to win a championship, Team Liquid's won 4 championships already. I think already he's played with Jensen before. He knows how strong Jensen is. And then you also have a strong bot lane. He'll want to go with a strong bot lane because C9 drama about him wanting a stronger bot lane. He's going to get a strong bot lane. Tactical and Core JJ? I mean, are you taking Tactical or Core JJ over Wild Turtle and Ignar?
Well,
I'm just...
Hold on. I just had a thought. So those first 2 championships TL won when they first bought up all these players, if they replace Impact with Licorice, are they going to have anybody from that first roster left on their team?
Nope.
Yeah.
It's true. Because Impact's contract is up, and Jensen's contract is up, right?
And so is Brox's. All 3 of their
I think
top
Jensen
10
would
players.
re-sign. I think Jensen would personally re-sign.
I mean, where's it going to go?
He goes to TSM.
I'm really curious. I think it's clear that Licorice needs to go to Team Liquid. For him and for like a lot of people, it's FlyQuest. Yeah, are a great org, but Licorice has always been on C9, a very high infrastructure, very like tons of coaches looking at you all the time, like bringing up talent all the time, like especially like when they bring up players, they sort of baby them in their play style by giving them a lot of resources so they can jump
Mhm.
into the team very easily. And so like I think over the years, Licorice has kind of like gotten into being his own player, but still has had that infrastructure around him. Team Liquid is that team that has a ton of infrastructure, had brought in a whole bunch of new coaches this year. Whereas like FlyQuest have like 7 members on their staff, and like half of them are social media or something like that.
Ooh.
Like they're like yeah, no, it's like they don't have like a huge staff in terms of like coaching staff and this that the other. To my knowledge, so I can see Licorice being like, okay, this org is even better than not even just the players I want to play with.
I'm gonna take the dark horse take a little bit.
Okay.
Say FlyQuest is actually the better fit for him.
Okay.
Alright.
I tend to play top. I think that putting your top laner and your jungler together and thinking of them as a unit is a lot more important. And I don't think TL as a team can give Licorice the resources in the game that he would maybe want to show those carry performances on something like the Wukong or the Mordekaiser. And I don't know if their playstyle can shift enough in the time that it would take for him to show or have a good showing, whereas FlyQuest solo has shown that he will play a carry every once in a while, and they have shown that they'll play through top, whereas Impact has pretty much been weak side since he joined TL. There's been maybe 6 months where he's gotten resources from the jungler, he's gotten attention from mid lane roams, but I feel like Santorin is a lot more used to playing towards his top side, and I think that might actually be a big decision factor, and why he would perform better on FlyQuest at least. I don't know if he'll make that choice, because obviously TL can just throw the book at him, but
paid by Steve.
Also, there's the
real thing.
possibility of Santorin not even being locked into FlyQuest yet, whereas like you have the bot lanes already secured, Jensen could resign, sort of thing. But yeah, no, I agree with you in a sense that like TL has never really played topside, so there is that like little bit of like scariness going in as a player, being like, okay, well this team's never really played around a top laner. Do I show them how? How is this going to be? Sort of thing. So I agree with your point actually.
Yeah. I actually agree. I really would like to see him go to FlyQuest. I think the end result of that team is might actually have a higher ceiling than him going to TL. Because TL, if he goes to, like you were saying, TL tends to not play around their top lane very much. FlyQuest was doing it with solo. Like they would play games around top lane playing solo. Imagine now if they have Licorice instead, a man who's certainly capable of taking over games and running with them. I think they'll be more flexible. You'll see a lot more looks out of them as a team, and they're going to be real dangerous. If that team gets Licorice, I'm honestly tempted to pick them as the favorites to win the spring split.
See, for me, I still think TL and FlyQuest have issues playing around topside, but it depends on who's able to allocate more resources to the top side. More or less so, I saw it from FlyQuest, but it just depends. Like, Licorice can play weak side a lot effectively. But the issue here with Licorice, more or less for me, is that you are giving your competition pretty much the best top laner. I mean, like, you're giving away arguably one of the best, if not the best top laner. So, Fudge coming in, he pretty much to match it, so it doesn't have to be a downgrade, he's got to be the best. Like, I'm sorry, those are the expectations you set. You give away the best top laner, I expect the best top laner. Now, these are the same conversations people had with Licorice when he first joined C9. They're like, well, is he going to provide what Impact provides? And he actually provided 10 times more, actually. So that's it for me and Licorice. I don't think he would go anywhere else, really, but maybe Golden Guardians, but it's like, do they have championship aspirations?
It's crazy how we're having this conversation with C9 again this year, because at the beginning of the year we had it with Svensgaren. Like, wow, C9's giving away the best jungler in the league. What are they doing? Why is it every year Cloud9 has to do something like this in the offseason?
Why do they have to lose the offseason all the time? They've lost the offseason for so many years.
After they did that, EG, like Svensgaren just hard carried EG. He tried so hard to drag them kicking over that line, but he just couldn't do it.
No.
Some of his Graves play was so good. It was actually crazy, unfortunately.
Oh, right. The other roster moves we had were, if you guys were watching Worlds, Armut is reportedly joining Mad Lions. So he beat Orome and then is taking his job. That's so funny.
Wow,
Imagine knocking somebody out of Worlds. Imagine knocking somebody out of Worlds and then taking their job. Holy shit. He can flame him on Twitter his entire career. Hey man, I took your girl and your job.
Oh my god, that's gotta be the worst. That's a feels bad, man. You hate to see it.
I think Mad Lions, all kidding aside, that's a good decision though. I think they need a carry top laner, and I think Arma played pretty well. I mean, he showed me more than what Arome showed me. Arome showed me like carry Jack's performances. Okay, I can get that out of Impact. You got anything else besides playing Maokai all the time? No? Alright. I'll take Armut. We've seen these Turkish players do really well. Closer, Broken Blade. They show me that Turkish players are pretty good. And then, well, Ruin went to Turkey and then came over to CLG. And well, you all know how that went. You know, he's clearly the best top laner in the league, right? No, I'm just kidding. So that's pretty much it for news. There's other rumors that like Perks will be on loan from G2 to go to Fnatic. That's
Whoa.
Yeah, like I don't see that happening. I'm just saying, I just don't see it happening. They say
where was this? Where's the rumor coming from?
Esports Macau, is that his name? The guy that does the the EU esport rumors. But that was like, I was like, huh? That one I'll take with a grain of salt. The other one was Alfari joining Rogue as their new top laner. I think that's good for Rogue. Rogue needs a player like Alfari because Finn, man, he just ain't cutting it. Finn is so trash.
Don't dog on my man's world-beating Finn Malphite, okay? Come on now.
What do you think, Stiggy?
The Rock.
What do you think about these possible changes, or just as what they are with a grain of salt?
Finn definitely didn't impress me at Worlds. I don't watch a whole lot of LEC, but I probably should, honestly, with how much LCK I watch. But
I watch a ton of LCK too, man. It LS can put you to sleep. I can guarantee that. Dude, I'm literally getting up to go to work at 5 o'clock in the morning, and he's moaning about plays. Oh, it's like, please stop. I'm like, what the hell?
It's that League of Legends ASMR.
I don't know. I think it depends on Rogue's look. Definitely depends on what other changes they make, because I don't know if or how much pull Hansama has in the way that they decide their macro. But I don't see a whole lot changing for their top lane, even if Finn isn't getting those resources, because they also struck me as, and this is just based on the group's performance, as a team that doesn't play through topside.
Yeah, no, they're like the fly quest for their playstyle for EU. Yeah, because
they can obviously change what they do if they have a player that they feel comfortable giving resources to, but it's difficult to say how that will play out for them. It's definitely hard in a world where your two major competition in that lane is Bwipo and Wonder. I don't think I don't think you can argue that Wonder is probably the best Western top laner.
Yeah.
Just the kind of performances that he puts out when you put him on something like Camille. I don't know how you deal with that, especially going into the new meta where we're going to see a lot of shift away from Ornn, I would think, just because of the item change. Mythic's becoming a lot more valuable. Ornaments probably lose a little bit of value. It's a lot. I would assume it's not going to be as safe for you to just pick Ornn or Volibear or Maokai and just handshake your lane and farm.
That's what I do in all my solo queue games, and dude, I'm iron.
I'll just say, Bwipo does put out performances sometimes that make you like consider him in that spot. But no, I'd agree. Wonder is pretty safely to say the best top laner.
If you are a TL fan or a FlyQuest fan, you are probably begging these owners to grab Licorice. Like I'm not trying to overrate him or anything, but like he's gonna make your team stronger. It's just he's been the best top laner for like 2 years straight.
As a C9 fan, I found myself screaming at Licorice easily the least out of these last 2 years for all the other members of C9. I found myself almost never screaming at Licorice.
And now to go on to TSM. So, TSM went 0-6 as a Pool 1 seed. The first time it's ever happened. The only other worst record was Flash Wolves to go 1-5 in the 2017 World Championship. And guess who their only win came from? Our lovely boys from Bjergsen and Friends, TSM. Fun fact, if they had beat Flash Wolves in that game, they would have got out of the group because Misfits ended up losing to Team World Elite after that, thus meaning no tiebreakers. But you know what? Why are you banking on TSM to do correct things? It's just like, I don't factor that into my brain. So what did you guys think about their 0-6 and their performance? So where do you want to start with? You can start from coaching staff, Reginald, players. Don't flame the players, guys. Please don't go and like send them death threats. Don't do that. Please don't do that. And it's like, don't do that at all. But where do you guys want to start with, actually?
Can I just say an overall? That was the most embarrassing thing that anyone has ever done to North America, ever. And our own team did it to us.
You know what? It's not surprising it came from a North American team. I'm just saying it's not surprising it came.
Well, I'm saying it's not even that the competition was necessarily that much overwhelmingly like superior.
Yeah.
Right. It was just they were so inept at literally every phase of the game that it made us as a region just look so pathetic. When it can also completely overshadowed very decent performances from TL and FlyQuest. Like, they actually didn't perform that poorly. If things broke out a little differently for them, they could have made it to quarters. But because TSM completely devastated the North American reputation beyond what it already was, no one cares.
You're branded as a TSM hater.
I don't know how you can when I'm just observing reality right now. Nobody cares that FlyQuest overperformed and looked pretty decent. Nobody cares that TL was one dropped game away from being in quarters. Nobody cares. All anyone cares about is TSM looking like a wild card region team.
Yeah, I will say it was even more sad that it didn't seem like it was one player sandbagging it. It didn't seem like it was like Bjergsen's throwing anybody on their shoulders or somebody played well. Like, you know, it's like they all played bad. And the sad reality is that where they played bad was things they would have gotten away with in NA. And that's why they won NA. You see Team Liquid and FlyQuest where they're trying things and they're trying to do different things, and even if they're down at the first week, where TSM, it looked like they just kind of kept throwing the book at it, being just worse, worse individuals at all 5 roles in every way in every category. I think there's still some way you can say you can salvage this and pick some pieces up and be like, okay, well, Spica and Broken Blade's first Worlds, you know, this, that, the other. I think there's a world where you can be like, okay, well, yeah, everybody played pretty bad, but there's level-headed excuses, I think, for some of the performances. But overall, this was just everybody looked bad, everybody was bad. I think the only player that you could reasonably be we'll give him a pass is Spica.
Yeah, I agree. And conversely, the other player that no excuses can be made for is Double Lift. This isn't one of those years where you can say, oh, well, his team just let him down. He was just put in a corner. No, he just hard lost his lane every game.
My man Double Lift had worse KDAs than wildcard ADCs. That is damn pitiful. That means he played worse than the V3 Esports ADC.
He didn't crash. He fucking fell from orbit, hit a helium air blimp, caused that to ignite, and then that crashed to the ground. That's how bad he did. Of course, let's not excuse Biofrost either. He also played.
Jeez.
Worst
horrible
support. That dude was the worst NA support we've sent in a while.
Since Biofrost.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't let Biofrost have a job coming into the split if I was TSM.
File for unemployment.
That's just me.
Cost me worlds. He's like,
at this
why
point,
are you going to unemployment agency? You sign out the form. Oh, I went 0-6 at the 2020 World Championship. I don't have a job.
Also, I was laning with Double Lift. Ooh, yeah, get in line with the rest of them.
Ooh. Stiggy, what do you feel about TSM? going 0-6?
I don't know. I don't think that the players necessarily played as bad as everyone likes to point out. I think that they have fundamental draft issues and
so
they don't get punished.
Do you have an example for this?
Like, I'll go to the first Gen G game.
Okay.
Where does your damage come from when your team is Renekton, Nidalee, Zillion, Senna, and Rakan? Like, how do you win those team fights? How do you, like, you can't split? You don't have any win conditions left because you're only, if the Senna was like an Ashe or a Kai'Sa, maybe, I don't know, nobody plays Kai'Sa anymore, so, but you know what I mean? Like, some kind of hyper carry, like maybe a Caitlyn even. That could potentially be like a decent comp, but I think the Zillion choice that they made was fundamentally flawed, and I don't think you can play Nidalee Renekton into like a more aggressive team that isn't going to let you play topside into Broken Blade like that.
Well, as far as the AD carry goes, I don't like picking a hyper carry in this meta. It's just because none of them are very good, and the way the game has broken down, they never seem to come online in any sort of reasonable amount of time. Actually, we've seen the best AD carry in the world so far, at least in my opinion, has been Jhin. Somebody who's good at the mid game, good in lane, and is able to provide support objectives without ever putting himself in danger, with his ultimate.
Absolutely.
I'd put Ashe in that category as well.
Yeah, because Ashe has her Ashe arrow. Yeah, it's just Ashe arrow. That and Hawkshot. That's the reason why she's good. It's not her damage output; it's her utility, which is why she's even good.
The one game where I saw them drafting pretty bad was what was that game? I can't remember. It was the LGD game the first time around. Oh, what was the game he got solo killed by Xie? That was the last LGD game, right? That we got solo killed by Xie and lane on Zillion as he played against Orianna. Like, yeah, it's my things like this. So like, right? So I kept telling people this. So before TSM even got to the World Championship, I even said they weren't that good. And I was like, you're salty, C9 fan, blah, 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 yap, I'm salty. But I was like, they fundamentally are not really that good. Like, if you look at their gameplay, they really weren't that good. TL threw a lot in their series. FlyQuest threw a lot in their series. I know that's not, like, TSM's fault. Another team throws. But, like, looking at how they won, it really wasn't neither convincing nor was it really dominant. Like, some of the games were dominant, but that's more or less so because the other team can't skirmish properly. Though if you're, like, it's so bad. Going through it would make my brain actually fall off. But looking at how he would pick Zillion into players that play against so many other people in their own region who I guarantee you in China, in LCK, there's going to be Zillion one-tricks. Why did TSM not think that would work? Like, literally, Zillion does not work the way people assume it will. Like, the laners are bad here, so it makes his Zillion pick look like it's some god-tier pick, and it's not going to work against players like Xie, players like BDD,
Well, I think it more like Zillion works really well in North America because of, or at least this year it did, because some of our specific common draft compositions sandbag really hard to Zillion's R. Like, dive comps just completely crumble under the weight of Zillion R because you just all into an assassinated backliner, right? And Zillion R just says, well, that didn't work. You guys just used all your ultimates, and now we just get to counter engage.
Bjergsen also not playing LeBlanc properly, not queuing over the wall and throwing the chain. He was just throwing missed chains consistently in that one. What was the game he was on LeBlanc? Was that against LGD or Genji in that one game where they dive, they don't get a lot for it. LGD. Then they consistently just you saw what they could have been in their Genji game when they had the Lucian composition with even Broken Blade getting solo kills. It's like, where was this TSM been? Like that Genji game was something that's the TSM I want to see going in. It might not have been good. That would at least got them 2 wins. I think the 0-6 is not really reflective of who they are. I think they just went mental boom. I think they actually played a bunch of scrims. They scrimmed. They were like, all right, we're dog shit. We are not good. What can we do? A whole bunch of band-aid situations. But what ended up happening was Broken Blades played better than most people expected, and so did Spica. And it just wasn't enough because the other world-class top laners have a team they can play through. That was the worst part about Spica and Broken Blade to me, was that they were actually playing better than we expected, and they just didn't have the rest of the team playing with them, you know? Like, there were games where Spica's ahead and Broken Blade's ahead, but Bjergsen, Doublelift, and Biofrost just, apparently they don't have keyboards or hands or fingers. Like, so that's just me personally.
The game that I think TSM had the most life in was definitely the game versus Fnatic. But I think, like you said, they had already mentally boomed, the second one specifically, where they had they got the draft they wanted. They have a Camille top lane, they have the Nidalee jungle, Speaker's very comfortable on it, obviously. Then they have the Galio mid for that combo, so you can just dogpile onto Bwipo, you play through that lane. Self-made can't necessarily win the 2v2 if the Nidalee shows up, especially into the Camille. So I was happy with that, but then you have that clip of Bwipo showing up after the game, after they stomp them. It's like they Camille Galio'd me once, and then I just solo killed Galio.
That's the game. Like, oh my god, me and my friend were mulding fucking live and watching it. Why is my Nidalee behind the Galio when you have Self-Made running up by himself to steal a dragon? What are you people doing? What are you doing? My brain actually ran out of my skull and ran out of my house. I was like, all right, just take your keyboards, unplug them from the monitors, and go home. That is unacceptable. He stole it by himself with a Nidalee, a Camille, and a Galio. Galio has a actual taunt. Camille can literally ult-lock you down. How is he stealing a dragon? It's impossible. It's damn near impossible. You are actually dog shit. Take your keyboards and go home, please. I'm just sorry. I'm sorry, guys. That actually makes me mad. Because that's just unacceptable. That's just pure unacceptable. Come on. That doesn't happen in our games. And we're like fucking gold highest, you know?
I think definitely the first two games of week 2, they showed the most life as far as draft goes, but the players had already checked out or something.
You saw their faces on the webcams. They were done. You saw their faces.
They didn't play to their win conditions properly, for sure. It's really weird. I think a lot of TSM's issues tend to come from, I don't know if this is a management decision or a coaching staff decision, but
what would you boil it down to?
NA,
like, what would you boil it down to, honestly?
They've got a very obvious pattern of understanding how to play when they're ahead, and I don't know if this is due to scrim culture or the way that management approaches problems, but if they get behind or a situation doesn't go how they expect it to, it tends to spiral out of control. And I think that has to do more with coaching staff kind of dictating plays to them rather than giving them the tools to understand how to play around something. Like, if you watch a team like G2 play, if their shit doesn't work out, they just kind of ignore it and then go next. Like, they're already preparing for the next play that they're going to make. They stay proactive. They stay in control, even if they make small stumbles. Whereas TSM and most of the teams in NA tend to, like, if a dragon gets stolen, their macro kind of collapses for the next 5 minutes. Like, they're not warding properly. They're not playing their lanes correctly.
I'll even go as far as to say, I wouldn't even say like TSM are like, it's like a play from ahead thing. I wouldn't even give it that much credit, as much as I would say it's like they know how to handshake, and then once they're done handshaking everywhere, they can go and do other things. Like, you see in NA, like these like 3-4 kill games at like 15 minutes, and then it like starts to snowball for whatever team that had the better comp or the better whoever like snowballed whatever lane better. You know, it's like it's so like handshaky, it feels like. And I felt like you saw this perfectly with the Zilean pick. It's like, how do you lose? How are you down so much CS against set? BDD's set. You are playing a range champion. Like, I don't get the matchup fully, I'll admit, but like that seemed a little crazy to me. So like I think there's like a little bit of like, I can say like, there was like a little bit of like macro like fuckery, but I also think there was a decent amount of like handshakiness that TSM were used to getting, that they just weren't getting anymore. You saw it with when they tried to make plays topside or even like just general topside or even bottom side, getting solo killed a lot in bot, going for the level 1 plays. They were used to being able to handshake that sort of stuff. They weren't getting handshakes anymore. And
Yeah.
The next point was the Genji game where you have two controversial things happen. The Baron steal from Ruler, which, whoo, man, if I have to rant about that. Then you have the 9-man sleep from Lillian. Yeah, Lillian's her name, right? The freaking Bambi champion. Lillian or Lilia?
Lillian.
Okay, so
Lillian.
let's start with the Baron play.
Okay, yeah.
Spica is, my God, guys. I actually watch it, I watched it like 5,000 times. They are all not hitting this Baron. Spica, it literally almost did it by himself. Bjergsen has his ultimate up as Lucian.
Yeah.
These people can't press buttons anymore. Go on the plane. Go to the airport. Buy your tickets. Go home. Actually, what is this? None of his team hit the Baron except maybe Broken Blade a few times in Spica. What is that? What is this?
I like to remind you guys, C9 died for this.
I think that play is a huge representation of macro, just shitty macro decisions in a bad situation. I think going back to Stiggy's point about how there's a lot of things macro wise that now I'm losing my train of thought. There are a lot of things macro wise that were just bad. And being able to play from behind macro wise is a lot harder and not easy. And that's something TSM just weren't used to. And also going on the Lilia sleep, I don't think people highlight enough that Double Lift, Biofrost, and I'm pretty sure Broken Blade all had their flashes used before the fight. Meaning they were caught out in some situation, and because of their individual mistakes, they weren't able to capitalize on a huge, massive play that Spica gave them. I agree, they weren't set up in that exact second necessarily. Maybe Bjergsen was, because he could have flash Q'd, flash autoed, whatever, with the flash E combo with the Lucian. But I think a lot of people don't highlight enough that play, yes, was a good play, and I think, but I think it's just more of the individual mistakes that you keep seeing from TSM of okay, well, if Double Lift and Biofrost weren't caught in this specific moment or this way, they win the game. Or if Double Lift doesn't miss ult, because he missed ult early in that fight as well, if I'm not mistaken. And so if he hits a Severum ult on 4 sleeping targets that are stacked up against each other, we've seen the Aphelios clips. He was
I'll show you my Aphelios highlights. I'll show you my Aphelios highlights. You want to see those? No, I'm just kidding. My Aphelios is terrible. I'm over here going 0-3 in lane.
But it's crazy to me that people try to defend that play when I'm do you realize how badly their flashes were burned there?
It's just that any other team in the world would capitalize on that play. You see, any team sees that, they're going for that. That's the legendary Worlds play that gets talked about for years. Even that Baron that they did could be a play that where, you show it where you can be down, but you can still get an objective and come back in the game. And now TSM, as you guys know, we won't see them until 2021. I think that they need a hard look at what they actually, I hear this every single year from them, so I'm already burnt out about it. I always try to give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe things don't really always go their way because of things that we don't understand. But they need a hard look at what they want to do. So I've asked people, I've asked hardcore TS events, do you want to change out Bjergsen? Most of them say no. And I usually ask why? Why would you never want to take a risk on changing, just seeing how it would go? See how it go for a couple weeks. It's spring. It doesn't matter. Quote unquote, it doesn't matter. See how it'll go. Just try it out. Why are people so afraid of not trying new things out? TSM feel like a team to me that are never really ever trying out new things. It always feels like it's polished over of stuff we've already seen, I'd say, hey, go into spring, trying out new stuff. What? It's spring. It doesn't matter anyway, right? By what people have said. Try new stuff out. Go for it.
Yeah, that just brings your question. Do you guys want to win domestically or internationally? You have to answer one of those two things. You can't have both because you're not going to have both immediately. Winning internationally with a North American team, especially a team with unless you're Cloud9.
True.
You know who Bjergsen is, you know who Double Lift is, you know who Biofrost is. Spica and Broken Blade are new enough that I think they might be able to get better. But those other 3 players, you know who they are. You know what they're going to give you. They're not going to get much better than they already are. They've already proven that their skill level is not good enough to win internationally.
Mhm.
So if you just want to continue to try to win domestically, all right, fine. You can keep that team. Maybe switch out a couple players, maybe your support, and then you can stay competitive and try to win another title next year. Or you can say, all right, I want to win internationally. All right, you got to blow up most of your team then and invest in young players. You need unknown quantities because your known quantities aren't good enough, and that's the only way you're going to win internationally.
What do you think?
Unless you get extremely lucky, like extremely lucky in a group draw, where you just have a cupcake, an absolute cupcake group.
You mean like the
to get out of
2017 group draw with World
Yeah,
Elite
like with
and
Misfits?
Yeah. Yeah, and you can't get it done there either. Like, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
Doublelift has never gone on groups. He's had cupcake groups before. Bjergsen's never gone on groups.
At least Doublelift.
But there's Biofrost.
Credit to Doublelift. At least he made MSI 2019 finals, right? Yeah. So
right.
at least
he's
Bjergsen's
had
got
exactly
something.
one.
He's got something. Bjergsen's got like nothing.
He's got something.
Yeah. Bjergsen has the 2014 World Championship top 8. They got out of the groups then, but that's been years, man. That's when I first started watching.
Wait, did they actually get out of groups that year?
When I first started watching League, that was the only year TSM has ever gone out of groups. It was in 2014.
Oh, okay.
Wait, wasn't it an auto seed or something like that?
I don't remember.
Yeah,
actually.
I thought that was still when they
got
auto seeded.
They got seeded into groups there.
Yeah.
And then lost their first game.
To be fair, that
Well,
was
it was versus Samsung White.
Come on,
I was like,
no one was going to that
they
series.
They took a game.
No one was going to that.
A game.
Yeah, no one was going to that series. Be like, man, they can just wipe out Samsung White.
No. But yeah, that's the question you got to ask yourself. Because here's the thing: when you blow up this team because you want to have a chance to win internationally, it's gonna suck for a year, or a split, or what have you. Because guess what? Your players are gonna have to, adapt. They're gonna have to get into the groove of playing on a team together. You're not gonna win for a year, but you trade that for an opportunity to win when it actually matters. Because here's the thing: as a C9 fan who lived through this, who was watching when we won the trophy this year, that doesn't fucking matter to me right now at all. I wish my team was playing right now.
I really wish
rather
I could
than
have had a C9 Worlds logo icon I can flash because my org's been at Worlds for 7 years in a row. So if Cloud9 make it next year, which is that's probably gonna happen. I'll take a bold statement. They'll make it next year. That does kind of suck that they didn't make Worlds this year though. It hurts, and it's like. What do you want? Domestic success or you want international success? C9's international success is still more talked about than their domestic success. It still is. People still talk about that semifinals run, how they got out of the group of death. That shit is just legendary. Yeah. No one talks about their first run in the LCS still, unless you're like old like us.
No, like hell, people talk about, they took down Korea. They knocked Korea out of the tournament in a 3-0 sweep. That's what I remember. And that feels a million times better than any titles ever felt. Was that quarterfinals win?
Now in my games, I bought the TSM Worlds icon. I flash it whenever I win.
I told my Clash team, throw 6 matches.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. So you guys,
group,
what do you?
Someone in the C9 group put a 0-6 for their logo.
Yikes!
God damn! Oh my god!
So what do you guys think? If you're TSM or a TSM fan, what do you want? Because you have to pick one.
They're gonna keep Bjergsen. That's just staple for them. Bjergsen could literally go outside, backflip, break his neck off a bridge. They'd still keep him. He could have his no hands, and they would still keep Bjergsen.
Yeah.
So
I think.
Yeah, go ahead, Siggy.
I think definitely TSM probably tried this already. Obviously they didn't blow the team up. They didn't get rid of Bjergsen, but we just came out of a low period for them where they didn't go to Worlds for 2 years, right? So they tried to foster that Worlds thing. They couldn't even make it into play-ins. Obviously, I don't think that their macro decision making and the way that they were playing the games in those years would have done better, but when we sent Clutch over them, could they have possibly hurt that group a little bit? Obviously, Clutch couldn't. They still took games.
Yeah.
But, I don't think TSM would have necessarily shown those signs of life, but I don't think replacing Bjergsen is necessarily the problem, because what mid laner do you replace him with, right? Like, unless you're pulling someone
Chovy.
from
Chovy?
right, you could grab Chovy and then
Yeah.
you're getting an upgrade. But then, like, I guess they
I
do
see what
have
you're
those
saying.
import
Go up
slots,
tonight.
right?
Go up tonight.
Listen.
Just grab him from top esports.
Listen.
Just drag
Listen,
him.
you're not gonna know the name. Probably you're not gonna know the name right now of the next mid laner that's gonna get TSM out of groups. That's just the way sports are. You don't know these guys' names until they come into the league. At least in my opinion.
My thing is, and we saw when C9 made that like glorious run, it was off of unknown quantities. That year they picked up Zazel and Licorice, two of the like most unknown players in the league. I think with TSM, I think they can have both. I don't think it's crazy to say if you win NA, you should be able to be the best North American team, but they have to do it correctly. And what I mean by that is you need to bring players up. You need to look to foster their success the way Cloud9 has done it. I feel like if you reverse the splits this year and you say if you take the spring season and all of our spring teams and the way they were looking in spring, that Cloud9 does well because they fostered their talent well. They picked up the right type of players that they wanted for their team, and they did it right. I don't think TSM does it right. Their pickups this year were Doublelift and Biofrost and Spica. Spica, I'll give them credit for. Granted, he was in their system for a long time, but Biofrost and Doublelift, you know what these guys have done.
Let's not
I
forget
agree
Kalbe and
that they're
Dardoch.
good players. Huh?
Kalbe and Dardoch, remember? They had them first too.
Yeah, I agree. But
Dardoch, oof.
But I mean, those are even more of an example of known quantities. I agree, Kalbe looked good coming out of 2019, and Dardoch to an extent. But we all have to agree that those players are very, very known quantities. Look at Blabber, look at Licorice, look at any of the players, C9 or Tactical or any a decent amount of teams have brought up players.
FBI, one of them.
And that's the thing is, Cloud9's players looked better this year in spring, at least, going in halfway into summer than they had ever looked before. Like they seem to just continuously improve their players, and TSM it just seems like they run out the same players and they just feel the same.
See,
something's going on where they don't feel like they're improving.
My thing, I've had this conversation with my friend, and we've talked about Bjergsen a lot. And I'm not saying, Stiggy, you're wrong, but because there's two ways you could look at it. You could take what you already have. He's been successful for their org. He's got them pretty popular, right? A lot of people know TSM because of Bjergsen. But at a certain point, you could flip it like this, right? If you, how would I say this? What's the saying? The grass is greener on the other side. You would never know if they could achieve more with someone else, though. I don't like they're not mutually exclusive, though. You can have that, but they've never, it's the same thing with Sneaky and Cloud9, and what I try to explain to the Cloud9 people from that C9 group. You are never going to know what another ADC brings to the table if you never give it the shot. It's like dating one girl and then obviously never dating again because she broke your heart. I mean, you would never know what other girl could treat you better if you only stuck to that one girl, though, after, your relationship ended. So that's just me. I think you can have it both ways. I would like for orgs to try out different players because you just never know. And I know that's kind of like hypothetical hindsight, but that's all sports, though. Like Nick Foles, the Philadelphia Eagles, my football team, he was on the bench for Michael Vick for so many years. Finally got his first shot. People thought this guy's garbage. No, eventually, they ended up winning a Super Bowl later on, 2018, right? Yeah. That's when we won. So, but no one would ever go, why would you switch out Michael Vick for Nick Foles? Because that would make sense, right? But at a certain point, if you're not getting results and the stuff you want as an org, I would look at it and go, hey, Bjergsen, you might have to have a sub this year if you're not playing that good. I would do it, but that's just me.
I think a great example of this is C9 and the jungle situation. They were like, oh, we built this MVP jungler up with Svenskeren and super, super good. And then they get rid of him. And then Blabber starts playing super good. And it's like, okay, wait, is C9 picking up great players, or are they just playing through jungle extremely well? And I think that question can be asked for TSM. I don't think you need to get rid of Bjergsen. I'm just saying last year, I don't think you could have done it last year. I'll give them that credit. But I think you could this year be like, hey, we're going to sub in
They have
who's
Evolved,
the
right?
academy.
I'm pretty sure it's Evolved.
Evolved.
I'll look
Yeah,
it
we're
up.
gonna sub in Evolved like 3 games, like just 3 games out of 18, like just to see how he plays, just to see how we can play through mid differently. Keep you, and we'll probably play you for the rest of the season. But I think it's okay to be like,
Give it
hey,
a shot.
let's
Yeah,
question this.
Give it a
Let's
shot.
just
See what he
question
can
it.
offer.
And I feel like TSM never questioned that. I think the closest we've gotten to that was the whole like Biofrost and the other support situation.
Treats.
Yeah, thank you. And that didn't seem like they were questioning anything. It looked like they were looking for band-aid fixes. And nobody cares about a band-aid fix. Well, a band-aid fix doesn't win anything. It may win domestically because guess what? That's all NA is band-aid fixes. But if you want to win internationally, you can't keep using band-aid fixes. You need to be able to try and take risk. And I feel like TSM has never done that as an organization.
That's why I really like organizations like FlyQuest. It feels like FlyQuest is trying to build the right way, or at least the pieces they are getting for their teams, they just fit really well. Like, they're gelling really well. It seems like their coaching staff knows how to take those players and get the most out of them, right? I'm really looking forward to 100 Thieves this spring because I've been saying it all year. They have a lot of really young players who were 17 years old last year who have a lot of talent. And we're going to be saying, we've been saying about Cloud9, oh, they know how to foster talent, they know how to develop players. That's true. I feel like in the next year or so, we're going to be saying that about 100 Thieves.
I agree.
They definitely started with the right infrastructure for that, where they're having both teams in the same facility. They're practicing against each other a lot. A lot of their scrims was just them going up against one another, right? As the org itself said, right? So that sort of that sort of talent machine is definitely going to be really important. But I think what you said, Flair, about specifically changing the way that TSM thinks is actually a really good point, and I would agree with that. Where you switch out Bjergsen, and I don't know. I think coaching staff would probably need to change as well because
I agree.
Yes.
Please,
TSM has looked like the same team for the last 5 years, and I think the way that Parth analyzes the game is a specific part of that.
Bro, he's
I don't
the
know
general
if he's
manager
necessarily
and
the problem.
He's the general manager and the team head coach. How does, like, man, God, TSM.
You hire yourself, basically.
I feel like it did kind of go unnoticed that they did hire like an analyst or two, I think, or they brought up some analysts. Because if you watch like TSM Legends, they have like more than just Parth, especially knowing that there's like a couple other people.
Yeah.
But I agree. It's like, in what world is this like
acceptable?
good?
You're the general manager and the head coach. My God, TSM is Jerry Springer up in this motherfucker. Dude, fucking Lena leaking situations. Peter, like, okay. So the last thing I want to go over, we'll get your point in just a second. Is
sure.
What if? This is my thought. What if TSM kept Dardoch and Kabe? Would they have had better results at Worlds? I think this is a perfect meta for Dardoch in terms of how they want to play through jungle. I think you would have seen more out of TSM if you kept the roster they had in spring. At Worlds.
I think if at Worlds, does that mean they play it throughout the summer?
Yes.
Okay, so I think North America has a better showing because if I think they keep Dardoch, they'd never beat Cloud9.
Okay. That means they would
I think he's poison.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, I see what you did
there.
Yeah. I think Dardoch is poison for a team.
Don't even go to Worlds.
Yes, exactly. I think give Cloud9 another month to figure their shit out, and they're better. I don't think they get back to their spring form, but they definitely look better than whatever the fuck we saw on TSM.
I think the sad reality about TSM is I feel like it's hard for me to blame a lot of those players. Because I find a lot that it's not necessarily the players that I have problems with, it's some of their characteristic issues, and the characteristic issues that I find are stuff that I feel like just get let slide in it. I feel like I keep finding things in TSM's playstyle and the things they do that are just anti-capitalistic. They are very easy to get capitalized on. And so TSM just kind of make me sad.
It's like watching Precious It's like watching TSM. It only gets worse from starting to finish.
Dude, it's crazy. It's like this performance out of TSM at this Worlds is one of those rare train wrecks. Like one of those. It's almost beautiful in its chaos and
I know
ineptitude, where it's like, oh my god, I can't believe they're this bad.
Mhm.
I just can't believe it, and you just can't look away. Like this was a rare degree of awfulness out of a North American team.
Unfortunately.
Next year we're making World Finals.
Yeah.
Colin, I'm just kidding.
Holy fuck! If
All right,
TSM makes
NA
World Finals
prospect
next
now?
year,
Oh my god. All right.
holy fuck!
Siggy, what was your last point? And then we can move on, okay?
I don't know, but I just touching specifically on the Dardoch thing.
Mhm.
I think this is definitely the kind of metagame that you would want a player like him, and I do think that he deserved the shot that he got on TSM. In the same way that Selfmade definitely deserved the shot that he got on Fnatic, right?
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
he's Selfmade.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, coming from his solo queue personality, you don't know how well he's going to mesh into a team. It's kind of the same situation, but I definitely think that Fnatic's org history and the way that they deal with players like that definitely played a bigger role in integrating him successfully into the team. And I don't think whether this was on Dardoch's end or any of the orgs that he played on, that any team ever successfully integrated him. And you can obviously make the argument that it's his fault because like 4 different orgs tried.
Yeah.
I think with Dardoch, I think you find in a lot of other regions they just don't have tolerance for it. You look at like LCK and LEC and especially LEC where they have these big personalities. But when was the last time you saw like the Dardoch of LEC that team hopped as many times as Dardoch did? I feel like with NA we have this talent issue where we can't find good enough players, so we result back to the same thing. And Dardoch has been able to use that. I agree. Dardoch play-wise has probably deserved a decent amount of the shots he's been given, but teams shouldn't have as much tolerance for that, in my opinion, and the tolerance for the toxic behavior, because that only breeds worse toxic behavior. So that's my take on that a little bit.
All right, guys, let's do this. So the World's 2020 quarterfinals took place through Thursday through Sunday. Let's start with the first match. It's easy. Damwon versus Dragon X. Basic question. We can easily take this over. Did any of you think Dragon X were winning?
I don't think there's any world where Chovy drags them kicking, screaming over the line.
All right, next match. Let's go. So now
I think I'm sad it wasn't as competitive.
Yeah.
I'm very sad it wasn't as competitive because I love those players. I think, especially off of the story last year with CV Max and all the odd org drama that really plagued them, and it was just like super dumb and sad. I was pretty sad to see them not fight as much as they did. It seemed like they just kind of like it just seemed like it was over for them from minute one.
I think they played better in the group stage, and I think that the team we saw against Damwon was not the team we saw in the group stage. And I think the group stage being with the other teams of FlyQuest, Unicorns of Love, because you saw like the other teams in their groups outside of like Rogue's group, which was pretty just foregone conclusion. The other teams had to adapt. You didn't see that from Dragon X. Like it was like a fast starting car. They started off really fast, but they already knew they were going to get to their destination, so they slowed down. And they did that against Unicorns of Love and FlyQuest because they're going to beat them anyways. They just have the better players. And I think that if they were challenged in their group by the other teams to change something, they might have had a better showing. Because I don't think they were as bad as people are making them out to be. Because Piosik played pretty well in the group stage. I think most of them played pretty well. Like, they had mistakes here or there. But the team we saw against Damwon was just... I don't think that's them. I think that they just went mental and they're, all right, we just can't beat these guys. Let's just, you know what?
No, they already lost 2 best of series to them.
6-0.
Like,
imagine losing to the same teams 6 times in a row.
Especially with the metagame that was going into groups specifically. I don't think you can expect someone like Doran to just handshake into Nuguri repeatedly. And then, obviously, the drafts that they gave Doran were disgustingly bad.
Ooh,
He never had.
True.
he never really
Yeah.
had an option of handshaking. He had to win his lane, and they had to play through him because they needed him to be able to move into mid lane and unlock Chovy. And that was kind of the way that they wanted to play, but it just doesn't work because the mismatch in top lane is just, it's too big. You can't expect Nuguri to lose at all.
Yeah.
If they want a player like Naguri, just grab a player like next split if they make it into the franchising because they're franchised next year. If you make it Dragon X, pick up Summit, Keen, pick up them. If you want to carry top laner, pick up Summit and Keen.
There were some really good top laners that were on bad teams
right?
last season.
Dude, Summit played out of his mind. Get Summit. Yeah, sorry, Doran. Goodbye. You know what? Hey, there's always a job on Hanawa Life.
I wonder.
Are they even in franchising?
Oh, they probably won't. They're probably not.
I don't think they made it to franchising.
They should have. They're so bad.
I wonder if there's some kind of relationship between Chovy and Doran where Chovy likes playing with him, or if that's just like an org thing that happened when the transition came from DR or went into DRX from Griffin. But I can't really see any other reason why Doran would have been the choice when there's so many Chinese top laners that you could grab just out of solo queue and probably do better.
Yeah.
I think there was like a couple interviews during all the drama that the players wanted to play with Doran at Worlds. Like they wanted to play with him a long time ago. But I think it could be a relationship thing. I also could see it being a CV Max thing, where CV Max wants to play with Doran or wants to coach Doran or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree. It definitely seemed like Doran underperformed to a certain degree.
It felt like to me Deft kind of underperformed this Worlds, but that might have been due to his back situation. I just didn't really feel like Deft was the god carry like he was in the other international events he had ever been to. But that's just me.
I think if we were to call out any player underperforming, it would definitely be Deft, because his expectations, I would say, are a lot higher than the expectations that are placed onto Doran. I would say Doran played his role fairly correctly, but his role just doesn't fit with what you need to do in this meta, where you need to be unlocking your jungler, you need to be pressing into your lane, creating that pressure, moving down into mid lane, and just generally being a lot more active on the map rather than handshaking with Ornn or sitting in lane poking someone with Jace. I still don't understand why people that don't have 369 or Nuguri on their team pick Jace.
I agree.
Okay, Danwon smacked around Dragon X. They're moving on to the semifinals. The next matchup was Suning versus JDG. Now my pick'em said JDG, but it turns out you only got that JDG in game one.
Our hearts said Suning.
I thought game one made me think this was going to be a much better series. But after game one, it sort of just turned into Suning just kind of styling on them.
That's true. I agree. I just like Yagao is just not world class on a ton of picks. He's only really good at Zoe and Syndra, Akali, things like that, right? But those things aren't really. His other champions really aren't meta, right? So you gotta kind of factor in Suning plays through SOFM a lot, and he allocates most of the resources toward their team. I think that Suning have played really well the whole tournament, and I think Bin's been one of the best top laners, so SOFM's been one of the best junglers. Team Liquid invaded this man level 1, put him behind, and he still out CS Broxah and had more impact in the game than Broxah. How in the world does Broxah lives in a dimension where he just doesn't gig apparently, because SOFM, he's just insane. Like the way he influences a map, Angel doesn't even, like the problem with the Chinese junglers I have is nothing. They can do whatever they need to do, get the team rallied up. Angel doesn't even need SOFM to be a carry. Just factor that in. He doesn't even really need jungle pressure to get his own leads, generate his own resources. The only worst player I could see on Suning right now is just Sword Art, but he's just, like Siggy said, playing his role. He's playing the Tom Kench. He's playing the Captain Save It champion. That's it. That's all he needs to do. Like, you have Huanfeng, who's actually been a really great weak side ADC. I think Suning's played great. I think Suning, recency bias, they played better than JDG, and I think JDG also massively underperformed to the expectations they had coming into this tournament.
I think a lot of that probably has to do with the way that they got to where they are, where JD kind of had like a free group pretty much. Like there wasn't really an expectation that they were going to drop games
Mhm.
too much. They weren't going to be in contention for third place at any point. Whereas Suning, I would say they definitely got challenged a lot. Machi showed a surprising amount of life. TL at the end, they managed to pull together a draft where they can take a game off of Suning. And obviously playing into G2, who looks ridiculously strong, definitely elevated their play and allowed them to adapt the way that they're drafting and the way that they're playing around SOFM correctly in order to make that game against JD or that series go their way.
I think there's an argument to be made that it's there with Suning's group draw, they had more opportunity to scrim the better Asian teams. In a sense, if you're JD, you can't really scrim Damwon anymore. Or if you're Jinji, you can't scrim LGD. Or if you I think there's a little bit of an argument, or like you can't scrim Fnatic either. There's a little bit of an argument to make that like Suning can scrim almost everyone. Yeah, they couldn't scrim TL, Machi, or G2, but are those really are you really super sad about that? In context of how they're all playing now to a certain degree, especially not including G2 really in that mix. I think like there's a world where Suning were able to understand that they could use their scrim time effectively and work super, super hard to get to where they are. That's my personal view on it.
Yeah, I think even with G2, I would say that I wouldn't necessarily consider them the best scrim partners just based on their stage performances, just because of the way that they tend to approach the game and the way that they play. It's not wrong, obviously it's working for them, but I don't know if it would create the best practice environment to learn necessarily.
Well, that's what a lot of European teams have said. They're like, we don't like scrimming G2 because you don't get anything out of it. Whereas
like you do on stage.
Or the opposite, where they just throw for fun.
Babe.
It's like where they just don't take scrim seriously because they know they'll beat you on stage because that's just how they are. And I think there's that value of like Suning don't have to deal with that. They don't have to deal with that at all. They get to go and scrim Damwon and everybody else and be on their merry way. And I think there's 50% of that and 50% of they wanted to use their time correctly. They wanted to get as much they could out of scrims, and I feel like you could see that with the way they were playing. But yeah,
I would to add on to that. They say they don't take scrim seriously. Hell, they don't take half of their stage game seriously.
That's true.
Oh my god! First fucking thing Perk says, man, how did you guys lose this? Wait, how did you guys beat Gen G mid gap? Fuck. God damn, man, Perks really ain't shit. And I love these guys. How do you not love that? Perks really isn't shit. Oh my god. I love them so much. Next series was the only series to go to 5 games, guys. Fnatic versus Top Esports. Fnatic.
Oh my god.
All right, where do you start?
It was so... Oh my god.
We should address Nemesis first, because I think Nemesis is getting the brunt of the criticism. So, what did you guys feel about Nemesis as a whole throughout the series? Not just the drafts or the gameplay yet. What did you guys think about him?
I think
Nemesis.
I think it's hard to knock any of the players on Fnatic because, especially in a reverse sweep, where like 2 out of the 3 games they actually lost were decently competitive. It's hard to knock any of those players because it just seems like they, especially like Nemesis isn't a super old player. Yeah, he's been to World Quarterfinals before, but it seems like a lot of them just kind of mental boomed towards the end. And I definitely could see a world where like Nemesis just started to crumble, especially with a lot of the, and I don't know that for sure, but I think a decent amount of the players you could see that in a sense where they were getting reverse sweep. They got to the 5th game and it was just like, pew.
Their hopes and dreams just crash.
Especially with the picks.
Like, for me personally, the first 2 games are way different from the last 3 that played. And like in game, it always felt like they were the underdogs still in the series. Like, you knew Top weren't playing that bad to the point where, like, you knew at some point if Fnatic dropped the ball, it could be reverse swept on them. Like in game 3, Selfmate's picking Kha'Zix when you could just literally pick your Evelynn if it wasn't banned. Correct me if I'm wrong. Why aren't you just playing the same? If you're already winning the same way twice, why are you trying it differently in game 3? You don't have to switch up anything. People need to understand this. You switch up when the enemy team figures you out. Then you bring in your other strategy. Why are you switching it up when you don't need to? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
The Kha'Zix pick was super, super weird for me. I'm just like, he doesn't really do anything that the other carry junglers like to do, like the Graves. The Graves is a hyper carry. He deals a lot of damage from range and is a team fighter. Kha'Zix an assassin.
Yeah, Kha'Zix likes the 1v1 fights. We are in the dragon meta, where every fight is centered around an objective, usually. So I agree. Kha'Zix doesn't make too much sense when you have to fight around an Ocean Soul, or you have to fight around a Baron, or a Rift Herald, fighting for Rift Herald, but, you know.
Yeah, and where, guess what? The entire team's going to be around each other. You're not going to get any isolation damage. Unless you're thinking about going and cutting off the top laner who's trying to flank your team, but you're probably not beating the top laner at 1v1 either.
I think people got really angry at Nemesis. I didn't even think Nemesis was the worst performer. That title goes to Bwipo. Man was over here feeding harder than the Red Cross. Man, you couldn't supply enough food in this country and give it to Africa for how bad this man was feeding. He was over here, God, he played so bad. And it just felt bad for me that Nemesis got the brunt of the criticism when Nemesis was a contributor to some of their wins. I think Bwipo was not a contributor at all. And it's just weird how no one really talked about it. They kind of like, yeah, Bwipo underperformed. Underperformed? This man was getting solo kill consistently throughout the whole series. What are you talking about? So, which is, alright, it's like in the game where you're like 6-2 and 8 on maybe in like Syndra, then your top laner is like 0-8 and 0 and they're blaming you for not winning. What are you talking about? We have a 0-8 feeding top laner. Like, come on.
Yeah, right.
Like, you're not a problem. Like, he was underwhelming, and I think that people need to understand this. Knight is gonna do that to anybody pretty much outside of Showmaker, Chovy, maybe Caps, you know, like, it's like me facing LeBron James in a basketball game. I'm not gonna beat LeBron James, dude. He's gonna make me look really bad, you know, but overall,
I mean, to be fair,
go ahead.
I mean, to be fair, he was the band's 369. I mean, that's a pretty tough ask.
And he did solo kill and pull out some fringe picks. I think, yes, you could give you played the worst at the series award to a lot of the to either Bwipo or Nemesis, but I think focusing on that can be a little redundant.
Yeah.
When it seemed like it was their macro and the way they played the game towards the end as a team that really started to lose in the last 2 games, especially the last 2 games. I felt like Bwipo was doing his job to a certain degree, and I don't think that's like what you should look for out of every top laner. I think like you have like the 369s and the Nigiris, but I think it's hard for me to blame any. Again, going back to the point I just made, I think it's hard to blame any single player or go like, here, let's hate on this player, because it's like they kind of all made a lot of mistakes, but they all did a lot of things good, in my opinion.
It felt like their steam ran out. Like, you saw Reckless and Hylissang playing pretty well most of the games, and then it just felt like they always felt like they were the underdogs when they're the one winning. Maybe that was just a mentality thing.
I mean, I think it's more like Jackie Love finally got fed up in Game 3 and turned it on.
He's like, okay, I woke up. I got my coffee.
Fnatic put so much into keeping him down, like so much in those first 2 games to making sure Jackie Love had next to no impact on the game. And then Game 3, it just finally didn't work.
What do you think, Stiggy? What do you think?
Yeah, they. If I was to put anything on Nemesis, it was, just the champion pool problem that he had. A lot of people have pointed that out already, but I think draft-wise, Top kind of just figured them out after the first 2 games. I think the Scion pick into the B1 Ornn definitely hurt them really, really hard. It seemed like Whippo didn't really know how to play that matchup at all. And then that just kind of allowed Karsa to take control of the top side of the map just because of the amount of pressure that 369 was able to exert on what should be a handshake matchup, right? Like Orton into Sion, like what do you really do in that lane to either of them? But then 369 is managing to solo kill him under his tower for some reason.
They got their coffee, they woke up, they're like, all right, okay, our hungover is over. We're not hungover anymore. Let's actually play League of Legends. And Karsa was a man. The fact that you can be 0-2 down and still play at a world-class level the way he did, you know, his Lee Sin performances were actually really insanely good. Like, Knight not really feeling phased. Like, Knight wasn't even like the bad player for top, even when they were losing. It was just, they threw everything in a kitchen sink at the bot lane just to put them that far behind. Like, Yuyanji setting records like 0-15 by what 15 minutes fastest. Like, holy crap. If you have to give your support karma, like, just don't die, shield and speed up people, please. You do this. I like that Chinese teams do that, because if you do that to any other, let's say, North American team, you're on karma. You're not playing good. That probably causes your team to collapse, and I like that they were able to have that with their support to go, all right, dude, we know you're not playing well. This is a karma pick. Speed and shield. That's all you need to do. That's all you got, you know? I like that they're able to do that. You know, those are things that I look at. But overall...
Come back to the simplicity of everything.
Please, TSM. Yeah. What? I'm sorry, it's coughing there. But,
I think definitely what you were saying about the Rek'Sai, this definitely comes back to do the simple thing, where they kind of got in their own head. They felt like they needed to do something other than Graves or Evelyn for some reason. And I definitely don't feel like the Kha'Zix was the correct play there. I think Graves was banned, actually. But, like, I don't even necessarily think that there's a huge problem with picking the Evelyn there. Maybe you could make the argument that it makes the Sion really difficult to kill, but then you have a Vel'Koz mid and he's doing true percent damage to the Sion with his passive, right? So I think their front to back team fight becomes a lot more potent if there's the chance that an Evelyn's just behind you at all times. Like, your ADC has to stand a lot closer to your front line. They have to be putting themselves in a lot more vulnerable positions just to avoid being separated and then an Evelyn showing up and deleting them.
Well, my thing is, if you can't get the Graves and you can't get like the Lilia, why not just go back to basics? Is there any reason you can't pick a Sejuani?
I just think in the meta that we're in right now, I don't think you can necessarily pick Sejuani because she won't clear fast enough.
That's true.
I feel like you'll find a whole bunch of fringe picks that'll start popping up that are super hard, fast clears that'll just destroy Sejuani.
Do what he
really
did in Game
fast.
5. Do the Gragas then. If you're gonna do picks like Kha'Zix, do Gragas. At least that'll have an actual impact in the team fights. Gragas barrel.
Right.
I mean, you know, that's just me personally. If you're gonna pick Gragas in Game 5,
right?
You know.
Yeah. The point is, like, you can't pick an assassin hoping it's gonna carry. Just pick something that can at least be tanky or have utility or something like the Gragas. Just something, because the Kha'Zix was next to useless in that game, especially in super swinging games. As soon as that Kha'Zix gets behind once, they're not useful ever again. No, yeah. Even if your team gets ahead again, the Kha'Zix is just going to still be behind. Because that's just the way he works.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think we can all kind of agree. It didn't seem like, at least to me, it didn't seem like the players hard through as much as they kind of either mentally boomed or they were outpicked in certain areas of the matchups. I don't think there's. I think it's hard to argue that these players just went and ran it down like a TSM or any other of the teams that like hard ran it down this tournament. I think you could see life in a lot of the players and what they were trying to do, but there were just little things that made them lose the series.
Yeah, I don't think any of the 5 games necessarily looked like a stomp for either team. Maybe you could argue the last one because 369 managed to play Vlad and then just hard win his lane. But
he did get solo killed.
True. What did he?
He got solo killed by the
Gangplank. Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay, sorry.
That's okay.
That's why I'm
so
like-
used to 369 popping off.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I mean, he did pop off in a lot of the series, but I think it's like
Yeah.
there's certain things that I felt like I saw the Fnatic players do that were like signs of more than just life, but actual like skill.
Mhm.
Like with Blippo getting the solo kills, or like how Hilly and Reckless were just stomping super hard in the bot lane. Like I think it's hard to find these players just like hard running it.
Okay.
But that's my case.
Last series was Gen G versus G2 mid gap. Gen G, I don't know. Man, it's hard to look like TSM, but they did it. God. Good God.
Holy fuck! Is that the new insult? Is that the new insult internationally? Man, you guys look like TSM.
I hope so.
It's either the Dade Award or you looked like TSM.
I forgot. We need our
The
own
TSM
award.
award?
Yeah, that's what we got it.
The
We got
TSM
it.
award.
We got it. We created our own award for the team that was.
The most disappointing team at Worlds. The TSM award.
We need one for a
Yikes.
player. Who was a player really, really hyped that for this Worlds that kind of flopped?
Kanavi.
Ruler.
There we go. We get the Kanavi award. So we have the Kanavi award.
Yeah,
and
The
TSM award.
Ruler played well.
Ruler played well. Yeah, Ruler played so
played well. I think, yeah, he like was hyped up as this like dark horse like 80 carry that'll carry Gen G to finals or some bullshit. But I think Ruler like was pulling the Chovy and trying to drag people across the finish line a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Just the look that he gave in game one specifically. I want to harp on this specifically, but when stuff was happening mid lane and it's very obviously going to result in them all rotating bottom and diving you, and you're 20 feet in front of your turret still farming, not paying attention like that, you can't make those mistakes when you're as high level as Ruler is supposed to be, right? Like he's got a world skin, right? You can't get caught by the Pantheon support roaming down after he ganks mids.
I think a lot of what Gen G showed is issues I've seen with Gen G. Like, I've seen these issues before. Like, they don't feel like a team that plays together. They're like weird version of T1. They're good players, but they're not really meshed together. Like, why is Clid going for a scuttle when the mid laner's like level 6 and his mid laner's backed trying to get items come down? Like, and he's trying to fight and invade when the mid laner's clearly not there and he can't capitalize on. Clid and BDD have very bad synergy. Rascal can play strong side, but it's not really effective, so he just has to do his job. Life is
not
just
strong enough side.
Yeah. Life, I don't even know like what planet he exists on for support. It just like I think if Gen G run it back next year, they gotta look at themselves too. Like they call themselves a super team. You're not a super team with Rascal and Life. I'm sorry, it's just not. It doesn't exist. You know, if you have Klee, BDD, and Ruler, you need other world-class players there. And they have to mesh. The synergy is non-existent from these players. I've seen it all year. That was gonna be something that gets exploited, but doesn't matter because they have really good players individually in the key roles mid, jungle, and bot. Looking at what Gen G did, their drafts are always predictable. They're always playing super safe. They don't really take any risk. It's like you have a Kindred and who do they have in that first game? They had a Kindred. Who was their mid laner for game one? I forgot.
First game was Lilia and Azir.
Lily and Azir. Not too.
Yeah.
You
Wait
can
a
take
minute. Are you saying you're putting BDD on Azir? I've never seen that before in my entire life.
Like-
Oh my goodness. Is that BDD's Azir?
Is that
That's
Gen
a crazy fringe pick that I've never seen before. Crazy. Is that Caps you're playing against? I feel like you'll win this lane as BDD's Azir.
I gotta say something. I know you're saying fringe, but every time you say it, I think you're saying French. Some sort of French pick.
Dude, you know the meme back in like early this year? It was the teams would replay their thing through Google Translate on the French thing,
yeah.
and it would be like Le G2. That's what I'm thinking of right now. And then the like music playing in the background.
I think G2 got a free series. Like I'm not saying it was that's easy. Come on, it's like
super free.
They were the weakest first seed going in. They almost lost to TSM. My God, if you're already losing to that TSM, whew, issues. But going into the next season for Gen G, if they make franchising, which they will, they're very popular. They have a lot of fans. Get a new top end support. If you want to be a world-class team, Rascal and Life just aren't really cutting it. Like, you can have an impact. You can have a Rascal as impact, then get a new support then. I just don't think Life is that good. Neither is Keelan. I'm pretty
I
sure
think-
Gorilla might be a great fit for them.
I
I
think.
think-
You
Sorry,
can go.
Okay, I was just gonna say, I think if you're gonna replace Rascal, you have to consider what the metagame coming
Mhm.
into the next season is gonna be, because this was definitely not the metagame where you want a player like Rascal on your team for Worlds. And I just the fact that look at who made it through. You have the team that has 369 on it. You have the team that has Wonder on it. You have the team that has Nuguri on it.
Mhm.
Right? Like these. Sorry, for some reason I have forgotten who
Ben?
the top lane. Yeah, Ben.
Ben.
Thank you. Like all three of these players showcased that if they get resources, they'll carry like 100% of the time, right? And I don't think Rascal has done that. But if this is a meta game where just tossing him on Ornn, Scion, Shen, Volibear if that's enough, and you can just play that matchup and handshake it and go even, then he can definitely play the team fights correctly with very little resources. But that's not how things work right now.
It just didn't even feel like I was looking at the same Clid. Like, the Clid last year was just a monster, just insanely good. What is this Clid I'm looking at? Oh, his only international losses after what happened this week, he's only ever lost to G2 internationally in best of fives. Like, that's ridiculous.
Wow.
He's only T1, G2, all had Clid on there for the Korean teams. He's only ever lost to G2 internationally in best of fives. That is ridiculous.
You know that picture of Clid like hand in his face when they're losing against
Oh,
G2
yeah.
in the World Semis, and he's like sitting there. He's like, my goodness, I can only imagine. He's like that's all I can think of when I think of Clid versus G2. It's just like hand in his face, like, oh no, what
Oh my God.
has gone wrong?
Crying faker.jpg.
Oh lord.
I loved how Faker made that misplay on Kiana last year, and Drago's like, Faker, what was that? I was like, holy shit.
Wait a minute.
but-
Who are you?
But overall, I personally think that G2 got an easy opponent. Hey, people get easy opponents. It happens in this type of format. Semifinal preview. You have Top Esports versus Suning and G2 versus Damwon. Which one you guys want to do first?
Oh my god. Pick one. I don't know. These are both juicy as hell.
I think Suning for top could go to 5 games. If Suning make the finals and they actually win, hey, I predicted top to beat them in my pick'ems, so that I could be right on my pick'ems and be right here. I could play both sides, guys. I'm just kidding. I can't. No, I think it's not crazy if Suning beats top. It's not like mind blowing.
I agree.
Yeah.
Suning has been the biggest surprise for me of this entire tournament.
I
Like,
think you can go. You can go. Sorry.
I would say they had the potential for this high going into the tournament, but it's just surprising to see them actually consistently playing at this level for the entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just they're apparently just the team that we get this year that just overperforms, and I just want to see how far they can go. I think this is gonna go 5 games. And I still got to pick top esports because, man, I think they're just too good. I think this is where Suning finally
think
falls.
Might want to pick top because, to be fair, top was challenged in their best of 5 a lot more effectively than Suning was challenged in their best of 5. That's an argument you can throw top's way. Like, they managed to pull it together. I don't know how a team like Suning is going to react when they start losing, because when they did it in the LPL, they kind of they just gave up, essentially. Like, in their best of 5s that I saw, or their best of 3s, like when S1FM is not ahead, or Hwanfeng is not in a favorable position, or Angel's not really doing well, they kind of just don't do much. So I want to see their adaptation, but I think it could go 5 games. I don't see why it shouldn't. I don't want to see that FPX IG series we had last year where they were just fighting consistently. Holy shit, that was amazing. Have that for this series with Knight and Angel. Let's go. But what did you guys else think about this series?
I think the whole series just hinges on the jungle mismatch. I think it's down to SOFM just being better than Karsa. I think that's what's going to give Suning a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Just based on the way that the meta plays out. SOFM is such a high impact player at this point and has been such a huge reason why they've seen the success that they have. I didn't think that Suning could necessarily even get out of their group. I had that subtle NA hope that TL
Everyone
might
get-
actually manage to be a team, but then they had their first week performance and their second week performance didn't matter like usual.
Mhm.
And I do think that a large reason that they showed as strong as they did against JD was SOFM, and I think based on how Fnatic and G2 matched up in the LEC and how Fnatic matched up or how Fnatic matched up with Top and how G2 matched up with Suning, I think this is definitely going to be a very close series, a lot closer than it would be. But Top is definitely going to manage it in the end, I would say, just because of the strength of their solo laners.
I agree.
I think this this series really defines LPL talent. Like you had this, like I think LGD was kind of like they flopped on their face a little bit, but like excuse me. This is like the pure showing of like how strong LPL can be. This is like the third seed coming out of nowhere and like they look like they are a world beater. And I don't think it's because they're necessarily better than anybody else. I think it's because they just or not that they're not better, but it's because they are the LPL. They come out of this insanely strong region with insanely strong players. In my opinion, it was no surprise that you have like this SOFM and this Fang just looking like world beaters when they live in the world beater region, you know? That's how I felt, especially going into the JDG series. It's like, I feel like any LPL team can beat any LPL team on a given Sunday, depending on what day it is, you know? It's just, they're all so good. And so for me, it's such a coin toss between who's going to win this series. I think it really depends on how each team wants to play, because we've seen before Karst has played very much carry oriented, but also very, very supportive. So SOFM has done the exact same thing, and it's how they play through bot and mid. It's how they play through everywhere. Where are they going to play through, and how do they want to play through it? That's what really means a lot to me, and I think I agree with whoever said the jungle matchup is going to be the most important thing. So I think it will be.
And now
I do also think. Last
yeah.
thought.
What is it?
No matter who wins, I think this series is going to be a bloodbath.
I hope so.
For sure.
I hope we get who was it? It was KT versus IG. I hope we get that again. With
Oh
like
my God.
the insane like
2018.
Yeah.
Yo, dude.
If Top Esports
It
drops,
starts out. The series started out with a base race. That was game 1.
Yeah.
dude, imagine
I hope
like
we get that.
what if Top got second place in their group and they faced Damwon in the first round? Woo, that would have been so hype. That could have been a thing. If Top got second in their group, they would have faced Damwon actually. But you never know how those things play out. And now you have the rematch revenge match. Damwon, can they get the revenge against G2 for knocking them out last year? Woo! I got Damwon win the series in my pick'ems, but I don't know. You know, I'm not shocked if I'm shocked if G2 win. Damwon have been playing out of their minds. Damwon have been secretly the best team at the event. They have been just incredible so far. Like, it's really crazy even if G2 win a game. Like, they've been playing really well.
I feel like it's Worlds history that the team that is supposed to win Worlds doesn't. In a sense where like I think everybody did have China's #1 seed pegged to win Worlds last year, but there was also this big hype around G2, and it wasn't talked about over here in the West as much. And people were like, well, G2 can finally win Worlds. And I think there was a little bit said about IG. It's like, IG, I don't think we're supposed to be the world beaters back in 2018. I don't think Damwon win just because of storyline and all the odds of the past history. I hope in my opinion, I hope they do, but I think this series could mean it all for Damwon, and I think they should really take it probably more seriously than I think even the finals, especially because of how we've seen the last couple finals play out. But yeah, I think this series could go either way, in my opinion.
I'm gonna be honest. After I watched the Fnatic game and how much life they showed against Top, which everyone like, you would be called crazy if before that game you said, "Oh yeah, no, Top's gonna take it to 5 games," right? Like that was an easy 3-0 call as far as everyone's. but I think the strength that Fnatic showed tells me that G2 might actually have a very, very good chance here. And after that game, I kind of sneaked into my pick'ems a little bit, and I'm on the G2 hype train. I'm there. I think they're gonna win. I hope.
Don't worry,
I pray.
It all depends which G2 shows up.
Exactly.
Because
G2 is their own worst enemy. Man.
Oh, nice. There you go.
Is that regional?
But-
What is that?
This is the G2 Worlds jersey. It came in like a few weeks ago. I've had not a chance to open it yet.
Pull that shit out
Open
right
it
now.
up. Open it up.
no,
Let's see it.
No,
Let's see it. Oh, no,
can't
let's see
see
it.
that
Come on,
shit.
come on.
no,
Come on, let's see it.
no.
Anyway, I'll continue on while he's opening that up and putting it on. But yeah, you just never know what you're gonna get with G2. Like, yeah, they played really well last weekend, but they could just look like garbage this next weekend. I hope they look good, because if they look good, this is going 5 games. If they don't look good, they're getting swept.
It's time for the red, white, and blue. G2 is gonna win Worlds, guys. Do you believe in me? Do you believe?
I know that's
Is
a
that
super
President
big,
Carlos?
Oh, God.
I know that's a super
yeah,
basic
these are
take, but I just don't know what else to say about G2 at this point. Like, they're unlike any other team I've ever seen play League of
This is
Legends.
the best Western team of all time. This is not getting touched for a while. Like, they're the best Western team. Those are the comparison to them.
They play like they're in solo queue or like they're in flex queue. Like, it's really weird.
They would play like they would play like me if I was actually good at the game. I'm just kidding.
Did you see the Wonder clip? Where he was like talking about yeah, I can't remember the exact context, but he was like, I think we need to just like when we came into the series today, we were like, we're gonna face Damwon. It's okay. Like, we don't have to worry about Genji, this at the other. And this is like after the series, and then he's like, honestly, we're just worried about the finals. It's like, we're not even worried about Damwon. I'm like, and then Wonder's like, or not Wonder, Yankos is like, oh no.
Oh my God, G2, they really aren't shit. I love these guys. This is comedy. I love this shit. Oh my God.
And then if they win this series, like, I'm not even worried about the finals. I'm just worried about what I'm going to be doing the off season.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, I'm only worried about my paycheck in the offseason after I just clapped top esports if they win.
I gotta make sure I get my WoW raid in real quick. One sec, guys.
Dude,
Nobody's raiding right now. We're fine with that. I think Wonder's gonna actually have to practice, especially trying to play WoW from China. It's not a good idea.
Oh my God.
The WoW expansion was delayed, so we have hope as a Western audience.
Dude, my friend who you guys see in other videos like our solo ones, he actually plays WoW. He's been playing WoW forever. He's like, yeah, that WoW. He finally saw the WoW movie that came out a while ago. He was like, it was pretty bad. I've never played WoW. That's just me. I heard it's a game for you nerds. I'm just kidding. I play League.
I gave up MMOs a long time ago. Yeah. The last MMO I played was Maple Story. Back in the day.
Who plays The Sims?
Dude, yeah. Way back in the day.
Way back.
Oof. But that's pretty much it. We got all the roster moves, TSM, World Semifinals. Is there anything else we missed? There'll be plenty of time, guys, to talk about why NA sucks, why we're crap.
I'm really excited for the off-season drama. I think it's going to be really interesting having every year we have this January 1st moment where everybody's putting on their New Year's cap and saying, we're going to be better this year. We're going to start going to the gym and we're going to start working out because we want to be healthy. And then they just like eat McDonald's for like 3 hours a day, every day. That's North America. And then we go to the fitness competition or some shit and we lose. And that's North America in a nutshell.
I'm going to say it. Cloud9 was the one team that didn't do that. It's just, I think they went too far in the other direction. They just started starving themselves, like eating just protein, right? And then they just collapsed. They collapsed during the 5K they were training for.
They broke a lung.
Yeah.
Lung popped
They
in the middle of the
trained-
season.
You're right. They trained too hard, and
Because
they
the last
just
thing I wanted to
died.
touch on was like yesterday in the C9 group, they were like, "Well, we kicked Licorice, now we're gonna suck." That's the same thing they said about Sneaky. I mean, it's the same shit every single year. And it's like, hey, if we're getting rid of the best top laners, hey, get rid of Niski. Hey, give me Power of Evil. Hey, I'll take Power of Evil over Niski. I take it. If Power of Evil was on the table, Jack should be like, you know what, Niski? Goodbye. Hello, Mr. German Power of Evil. I love you. Hello. This German voice he would have. Come to the C9.
Oh yeah.
My God, I'll take Power of Evil over Niski. I think he's a better player anyway.
Yeah.
You always want to upgrade. Blabber. It doesn't matter if you have Blabber at that point. Just take Power of Evil.
But remember, we could have sent C9 in. They were one series away versus FlyQuest, and as a first or the second seed going into regular season.
Don't remind me.
Or going out of regular season.
Don't remind me.
They'll bounce back. I don't know if they'll be quite. They're not going to be quite as dominant as they were in spring of last year.
I don't
But
think we're ever going to get a team quite as dominant as that ever.
Yeah, because they were just really good, combined with the fact that the rest of the league was really bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But to be fair,
it was both.
They did do it for a lot of stage games. I think people underestimate that. They did it for like 8 weeks of stage games too. So that it's on stage.
Yeah.
That's not like most of it wasn't online at the beginning. So, but that's pretty much it. I think this episode was great.
Yeah.
I think it was great. Honestly, I think we had a good time. Sticky, did you have fun for the first time coming?
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
If you guys want to have me back, I'll come back.
Yeah, it's every single week, Tuesday or Wednesday. 5:30, 6:30, depends, because my girlfriend wants to come visit her. Darn, you know. She's in Ontario right now, so she wants to come visit her. I'm thinking about just doing it next week, because she did kind of spring it on me just like yesterday. I was like, damn it, I didn't prepare for this, you know. But we'll see what happens. I'll let you guys know how it pairs out. But is there anything you guys want to say before we head out of this, actually?
G2 win. Carlos for president.
Carlos for president.
TSM's an embarrassment.
Now we have the TSM award, and we have the Kanavi award. We finally got it after all this time. I was like, we need our own shit. We finally got it. It was that's pretty much it. No, I think that's it. Yeah, TSM, you suck.
I'm not.
You need. I don't know. Park should not be your general manager and your head coach. Just saying. I'm just saying.
No.
Start there.
No.
Make sure there's 2 different people in those roles. It's 2 different things you have to be ahead of. Other than that, see you guys later. Like, comment, subscribe, most of all enjoy. I'm the Nightwing. Way of Life Esports is signing out. See ya, Flair, Ravioli, and Sticky for being on for the first time. Peace. C9 will win Worlds at some point.
Yes.
At some point, C9, and it will win Worlds at some point. When we all have kids, and we're all, white picket fences, houses, and they will finally win Worlds at some point.
And Namen.
Nah, man.
See you guys later. Goodbye.
Nah, man.
Hi there, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more stuff.
Yeah, thank you.